Do you worry about your eBay sales? Well, we actually do not. And I know that's probably surprising to a lot of people to hear, but the reality is there's really not much point. So we're going to tell you why you shouldn't worry about your eBay sales either and some strategies to deal with it if you do start worrying. So welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Prof Sales.
And I think I'm just Ask Kaaren.
And we are glad you are here. This is a channel that talks about being in business for yourself, being an entrepreneur, reselling, your mindset, staying positive, and just building a really great community here in our little corner of YouTube.
That about sums it up, doesn't it?
And we have a live chat going right now during the show. We're on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you ever want to join live, you're welcome to come in and join and be part of the live show. So you'll hear us interacting with people in the chat. And of course, if you have a question or comment, you can leave that after the show post as well. Whew, that was a lot to get through, some days.
So you know the real reason we don't worry about eBay?
Why is that?
Because we're independently wealthy. Oh, just as you drank your tea. No, we're really not.
It's true. No, it's not true.
We haven't won the lottery.
Nope, don't even play. I feel like my chances are low since I don't play.
Yeah, you're a poker player, but not a lottery player. So there you go.
Because I'm a poker player, I don't play the lottery. Let's be clear.
There's that.
I'd rather throw money in the street. But we're going to talk about this idea about worrying about your eBay sales and really
worrying in general.
Yeah, really this kind of topic really could apply to anything you do. It could be about your job. It could be about your kids, about your spouse. It could be about your education. It could be about your business, anything really. This idea that, oh, my sales are not what they're supposed to be, and I'm worried. Mm-hmm. I'm worried.
Or my whatever insert here isn't
what I think it should be right now. It's not where I want it to be. And I'm worried about it. So I thought I would start with a definition of the word worry.
Word of the day, worry.
Worry can be a verb or a noun. So this is the verb definition, apparently. And the definition of worry is to give way to anxiety or unease and to allow one's mind to dwell on difficulty or troubles. So when I thought about that definition, I thought, wow. I mean, I've worried about things before, haven't you?
All the time. It's one of the curses of being a mom, I think. I think we worry about everything.
Yeah, I think that, it's kind of, I don't know, it's part of who we are as human beings to some degree, right? And it comes from fear. It comes from anxiety, unease. You're unsure about how things are going to turn out. Mm-hmm. You're seeing signs of how you think they're going to turn out. And so you get worried. So if you're an eBay seller, for instance, you're thinking, all right, I need my sales to equal $1,000 this month so that I can pay for X, so that I can have enough profit to do this, to go, excuse me, whatever it is you're trying, whatever your why is for why you're on eBay. So you get worried when you realize, hey, I'm not going to make X. Like, I'm not going to get there. It's going to be, below what I thought it was going to be, or it's not trending the right way. But I'm just going to say this, and I know it's cliche, but it's true, and I think it's worth repeating, and I have to remind myself of this every single day, probably almost every hour of every day. I have to remind myself of this. If you're worrying, you're not fixing anything, and you're not improving anything.
I want to say what you're really doing.
What?
You're wasting your energy.
That's right. If you don't like the way your eBay sales are going and you worry about it, you have this anxiety, this unease, you're not fixing anything. Mm-hmm. And a matter of fact, you could be, and you're definitely harming, who you are as a person, your mindset. You're maybe taking that out on people around you. You're letting that worry spill over. I mean, people know this, like if you have financial anxieties about things, and that's normal. We do, right? As people, we sometimes are anxious about, oh, how am I going to make it through this time? But you're not fixing anything. You're not doing anything. You're not making the problem any better. And worrying creates obstacles that aren't even real. And really the biggest obstacle, I think, is you know, and that's what I see. It's like, if I start worrying about my eBay sales, I think, oh, well, I'm not going to make this sales, which means I'm going to have this money to pay this bill, to go do this, to go do that. And all of a sudden it becomes this whole big spiraling downward, just, you know, disaster in my own brain, when the reality is, even if all that happened, even if all those horrible, terrible things happened, it wouldn't change the fact that I didn't do anything. I didn't react. I didn't take action. I didn't resolve to do something different or go in a different direction. And it just reminds me that our processes and our effort are within our control.
Sure.
But your eBay results are not within your control. And I know there's going to be somebody who's going to hear that and say, you're wrong, Prof. If I do this and this and this and this and this, I will get these results. You might, but you're probably going to get some variation of those results. Nobody can tell you in the reseller community that if you list so many items for so many days with these types of descriptions and these photos at these prices, that you will sell exactly these many. No one over this period of time, no one can tell you that 100%. So once you understand that, and I had to understand that because I thought I could, you know, I could, you know, figure out the matrix here and think, oh, if I just list exactly this many items at this average selling price, I will sell through this many. The reality is I'll be somewhere around that number, but the chances of me hitting that number are really, really slim, really slim. So here's what happens. So if you say to yourself, well, if I list 100 items this coming month, I'm going to sell 50 of them over the next 3 months, we'll just say, or 2 months. It doesn't even matter. And then all of a sudden the next 2 months happen and you've only sold 30. And you're like, what happened? Maybe nothing. You may have done everything right. You did it right. You listed them right. You had the right photos. You had the right pricing and the right strategy and the right categories. And there's just variance. And we talk about this in poker a lot when I was playing a lot, that if you go all in and push all your money in with this hand, and I go all in and I push all my money in with a different hand, I may have a stronger hand than you, but sometimes I'm going to lose. Sometimes I'm going to lose, and sometimes I'm going to win. If I have a stronger hand, in the long run, I would beat you. If we could keep doing that scenario over and over and over, in the long run, I would win a greater percentage of the time than I would lose. But I'm still going to lose sometimes. So that means if we're both betting $100, my expectation is not to win $200. Sometimes I'll win $200. Sometimes I'll lose my $100. And because of that, my actual expectation, what I expect to gain on that bet, is not equal to a $100 win. It's less than that, depending on our hand strengths. This is the same way. Your expectation about what you're going to get any one day, any one week, any one month, any one year on eBay is within a range of results. It's not a guarantee number. It's not that you can just plug in this and you'll get exactly that. You'll get somewhere around it, but that range can be big. It can be huge sometimes. And that is what I think frustrates a lot of people, Kaaren, because they put in all this effort and they're like, I didn't get a great result.
Well, or they come on here onto YouTube and see the shiny, happy people, and we're selling all of these things, and then they think that they're going to do the same thing. So we need to add to the beginner bumper, learn how to play poker too.
Oh yeah.
That's what you can do when you come on the Prof Sales channel.
Poker will teach you to be dispassionate about money, which is awesome.
But this makes me, and as I always digress, that video that we watched the other night about how to win at roulette by betting everything. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
So we're watching this how-to, and this fella, it's a part 1 and a part 2, I guess. What's the system called?
I don't even know what he called it.
It's some Magilla Gorilla system or whatever. But basically, you bet. Like, I don't know if you know about roulette, but the wheel spins and the ball goes and it lands on something and you're trying to guess what it is. But this guy hit the system, and maybe I'm sure there's a lot of gamblers in the chat. I already see a couple there that can tell me, but he basically bets on like all of the things. So he puts a chip on black, he puts a chip on red, he puts a chip on even, he puts a chip on odd, and then whatever the other thing is. But he doesn't ever put a bet on the 0 or the 00, right? And that was remarkable to us.
Right.
So
yeah, he wasn't betting. He thought he was betting a fair game where he had to win on one side of the equation and lose on the other, so you at least break even. That's actually not true in a game like roulette. When you hit 0, 00, you lose.
Yeah.
So it's not a fair bet.
It was all out of whack.
eBay is similar to that in the sense that you are making bets with what you list.
Oh, sure.
And you're betting you're going to win a larger bet sometime down the road. The problem is you don't know when that money will come. And it could be in an hour, or it could be in 10 years. And there's some probability of both. Honestly, there's some chance of both. People don't get that. Like, you could list something and it literally could sit there for 5 years and not sell for all kinds of reasons. And that can be statistically not very likely, but it can happen and does happen to people. So likewise, you could sell, 10 items. You could sell one item and sell 10 of them in 10 minutes. That's maybe not statistically that likely either, but it does happen. So all you're really trying to do here is you're playing an expectation game where you think, I'm going to get good results over time, but that doesn't necessarily is going to come in the time frame you think it's going to come. So that can be very frustrating. And your success or your failure on eBay, this is one of the reasons why I don't get too crazy about it. If you're successful on eBay, awesome. If you're not successful on eBay, that's okay. Whatever success means to you, it does not define you. Are you defined by your job? For those of you who are full-time or have part-time work in the chat feed right now or watching afterwards, does your work performance define you as a person? If it does, you need to rethink definitions.
Or does anything for that matter? Like, right. Some of us have life events, for example, that have forever changed us. Our direction, our whatever we were striving for, maybe had to take a violent turn to the left or the right.
Right.
And even those big events don't define us. I can think of one very much, and since the day I met you, we've had pretty open dialogue about you can't let that one terrible thing shape who you are. My son lost his father 8 years ago, and that in and of itself is not meant to shape the rest of his life.
Right.
It's certainly meant to guide him, but that one thing, and that I know that that's maybe a bigger, heavier thing here. But your success on eBay, it's the same thing. That I think it kind of plays back to the putting the emotion into the business. And we really have to get away from that, because this isn't personal. And a lot of us try to make it that way. Like whether we're successful or not, or if we get a question that's over the top, or we get a complaint or a comment that's more critical than it is constructive or whatever, like that's all. It's kind of like worry, right? It's wasted energy.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to you're going to find things that do define you as a person, like Kaaren was mentioning, but your selling on eBay shouldn't be one of those things. It really shouldn't in either direction, honestly, because it doesn't really measure anything about you as a person. It measures maybe your ability to sell on eBay, which is great. But I'm not going to take a lot of credence in like, I've got more eBay sales than somebody else, so I'm a better person than them.
What?
I mean, that's ridiculous. Or even saying you're a better seller than them. Not necessarily. You just know something they don't know at the moment, maybe, or maybe they don't care to know. They don't want to know. They don't want to go in that direction, and that's fine too.
It's kind of like I always make a joke about how medicine, it's the practice of medicine. It's the practice of eBay too. Like, I don't think there's one person out there that has all the answers. I don't think there's anybody that's doing it 100% right 100% of the time.
Right.
You know, all we can do is our best. And, you know, based on our experience, what we glean, the knowledge, what we learn, and how the platform or whatever platform it is evolves, that's how we react to it or be proactive around it.
Yeah. And we've got one more thing to say about this definition, guys. And then we're going to give you 4 do's and don'ts for how to deal with this particular issue, and see if maybe some of you guys have experienced some of these, or you've had some experience, you know, kind of thinking about these sorts of things in the past. But the last thing I'm going to say about this eBay and not worrying about it is we have started diversifying. Well, we've been diversifying our streams of income for a while now. And eBay is not the only one. It's part of a bigger picture. Yes. But by definition, I don't want it to be the only one for reasons we've talked about before. It's too risky. It's too risky in terms of, yes, eBay is amazing and you can grow and build a huge booming business on it if you want to, but it could also be taken away from you without anything on your part you can do about it, because it's not your sandbox. You don't get to make the rules. None of these e-commerce platforms are like that. So you always want to have other ways to pull in income. And I'm trying to become very, I've really grasped this idea of diversifying revenue out so that every stream theoretically is as big as every other stream. So if any one goes down, you know, other ones are there to take its place. And that's a real task, you know, that's a task to do. But I realized early on that eBay may not solve all my issues. Well, clearly won't solve all my issues, but it won't solve all the financial issues I want to either, given the amount of time and energy I need to put into it to do that. And I was just having this conversation with another reseller the other day in private, just about what it takes to sort of automate eBay, if you will, you know, pull the listing and photographing away from you, let's say, and maybe even the sourcing. And then you're running you're managing a team of other people. But that is not without its challenges. And that requires a big commitment from you and some time to get rolling. Not impossible to do at any stretch of the imagination, but you got to want to do that. And I think we decided somewhere along the line we didn't want to do that.
Right.
We talked about it. We talked about, you know, let's develop this business that we will have, you know, other employees, and maybe we'll move it out into a warehouse, and we'll do that. And we realized, I don't know if we want to do that. You know, it wasn't any one thing that kind of drove us away from that, but it was more so this fact that if we do that, we'd have to go all in on eBay.
Right.
Like, I don't think there'd be time or energy for anything else. I really don't, to build it to that level. And that, at the same time that we were talking about doing that, I was really starting to open my mind up to these possibilities of diversifying out income in different ways for all the reasons I just talked about. Mm-hmm. And so it didn't make sense to go all in on eBay. Mm-hmm. It just didn't, for that reason. So we didn't go that direction. And I think it's the right choice for us. You may feel differently. You may want to go all in on eBay, but I just caution you, you know, it's not your sandbox, and it could be taken away from you at any time. And that's always a risk with eBay.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we talked about how even your job, like if you're employed by someone else, that's not your sandbox either. And I know that ruffles a lot of feathers when we remind people that even having a job, there's not even security, 100% security in having a job where you're employed by someone else, because things change, things happen. And you were having a conversation with somebody the other day, you know, in our age range, you know, well, what happened if you lost your job? Well, I would just go out and get another one.
Yeah.
Really? Because people,
not up to you.
people in our age range and experience cost more.
We're expensive.
Yeah. And our health issues are
more.
Maybe yours, not mine.
More me than you.
Yeah. But you know, like, so you can't just take for granted that, oh yeah, how it was when we were in our 20s, that we'll just put our resume back together and we'll put it out there and someone will hire us because we're so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you might be awesome, but Johnny over here is 20 years younger, costs a lot less, and we can train him, and he has maybe less habits or baggage or
That's
whatever.
exactly right. And you've only got one bullet in the chamber when you're working just a job for your income.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be taken from you, like Kaaren said, so easily, or cut back, reduced, changed to something you really don't want to do. And you think that won't happen to you, but it can. And it does happen to people. And it used to be the average adult would be downsized something like 7 times in their working life, which is crazy to think about. That means 7 times you're going to get a message saying, hey, we don't need you in this position anymore, or we don't need you at all anymore. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, and I know we're kind of going before we get to our strategies, but we drove by, we live by one of the bigger, older malls in South Charlotte here. And we found ourselves driving by on our way back from Salvation Half Off Day,
That's right.
Salvation Army Half Off Day. But we're driving by and they're just not getting the traffic that they used to. There's a mall further in the middle of town that's more, maybe it's higher end. So it's
upscale.
Pulling a more upscale specific crowd. But because of eBay, online retail, Amazon, all of that, even Walmart's big new push about how they're, turning the tables on everybody online too. Like there's just not the same physical draw to brick and mortar. So here's this mall, and it's not an icky mall.
No.
It's actually a pretty nice mall.
No, it's nothing wrong with it.
Their traffic is down. Like we guessed that they wouldn't be in business too much longer.
Right.
Because we're, Black Friday comes up right after Thanksgiving, and this should be the biggest time for people to be shopping, and things are changing. And so just like, our brick and mortar and how we, advertising changes, shopping, all of these things are changing. So we have to change with the times. We can't just stay stuck in the same mold forever, because it's just not going to work. And you hear us say adapt or die all the time, but it's real. And some of our other things that we do POD, print on demand, and merch by Amazon is not the only option out there for that. I mean, so talk about diversifying your diversification.
Yeah.
And I told a story recently about a fella that had been waiting, and I'm still waiting. We have one account, but then I applied separately, and that's been going since April. I guess I should check. I haven't checked in a couple of days. I'll check again. But this guy has been waiting for like a year. And he went to other print on demand sites and has sold over 400 designs and finally got approved for Amazon. And it's like, he didn't even need merch at that point.
I'm good.
But his response was brilliant, because what he's going to do is he's going to post his most popular lucrative designs onto his merch account. And so he's already vetted those designs, and he's going to put them there. So It's always evolving. It's always changing. And even when you decide to diversify, like whatever or however you want to make money, it's never the only way to do it. Like it's never the only template. There's other ways to do that.
And Connie says, I heard the commission is going down on t-shirts on merch. You're right.
You're right. It is. It's a big change. What's that? What's going to happen with that?
Yeah, that's a perfect example of, guys, you're not controlling the rules. So you get swept up in them, and you have no choice. And if you want to continue to sell on their platform, I mean, that's just the way it goes. So you'd have to change your pricing or take a lower profit, or some combination of both. But we have 105 people watching right now. So I want to thank all you guys for coming out.
Yep. Thank you.
And if you guys are enjoying the content, what do you think people should do, Kaaren, if they're liking what they're
I think
hearing?
You should voice something. You be somebody today.
I can't.
What should they do, Prof?
They should hit the like button.
They should smash the like button.
It's so much better when you do it.
Popeye.
But we do appreciate it, guys.
That was olive oil. Did you catch that?
That was great.
Oh, Popeye.
Sounded like Mae West doing olive oil or something.
It's always somebody doing somebody else.
Yeah,
it's never
so
what.
All right, so let's talk about 4 do's and don'ts that will help you. I think, like what we try to do here that helps us with this, getting off of this constant roller coaster.
Right. So it's always not just you're doing it wrong, but actual strategies on what you can do to make it better, right?
Yes.
So, and we're talking about worry, and it's a waste of energy. So how about not measuring your results every day? Like, how about
blasphemy?
I know. How about not going on and doing all this analysis paralysis stuff? It's kind of like when you're in a health program or a fitness program, it's like weighing yourself every day or weighing yourself twice a day or 3 times a day. Like the scale is going to change. Oh yeah. And sometimes depending upon what you eat or your level of activity or whatever, it could change drastically. And you're just kind of setting yourself up for unrealistic expectations, perhaps irrational worry that ensues as a result. So
yeah. And I'm gonna, it's kind of like this example. I had a philosophy professor talk about how people they conflate things together. Like they'll say, for instance, I flew to China last week and now I'm back and I have a cold. So therefore going to China makes me get a cold.
I'm allergic to China.
And people say things kind of like that sometimes. And here's what happens when we look at eBay every single day and we look at our results. Oh, yesterday was a really good day, so it must have been because of this and this and this. Or yesterday was a really bad day, so it must have been because of that, that, and that. I mean, you will drive yourself crazy trying to figure out every little reason why a day was good or a week was great or a month, whatever. If you're constantly looking for all these little reasons, like we do that, like when we get sick, we're thinking, I'm sick, so what caused it? Well, germs is what caused it. And somewhere you came into contact with them and you got sick. But where you came into contact with them, who knows? I mean, there's no way to really know that stuff.
But you did just solve the world's problems by saying germs. I'm just saying.
Oh, it drives me crazy.
It's this roller coaster, right? And worry, emotion, it just becomes this. It's not like you can control that roller coaster. It's gravity. It just is. It's going to happen.
So the don't would be, don't measure your results every day. Turn off that part in your seller hub if you have to. eBay makes it really easy to look at it. Because you're going to get on that roller coaster and it's going to be emotional. But do look at them on a periodic, regular interval. Now you can decide what that is. Maybe it's every week.
Yeah, Monday at 9 or whatever.
Yeah, Monday at 9. You say, okay, I'm gonna see how I did for last week. Fine, do that on Monday, but don't go back on Wednesday and look again for what's happened since Monday. Because it's going to lead you down the wrong path. Like you're going to look at Monday and say, oh, I did really well last week. Well, it must have been on that listing I did on Thursday. And then you list a bunch of stuff on Monday and you look again on Tuesday or Wednesday and you didn't get great results. You're like, what happened? Your sample size is so small and it's over such a short period of time. You're trying to make sense out of something like that really you can't make sense of with that limited amount of data. So it makes more sense to look at things on a periodic, regular interval. Businesses do that. They don't get so caught up. When businesses get caught up in everyday sales, you become so reactionary. You start reacting to every little spike or dip, and it's a bad, oh, wow, we just sold a lot. We should order a lot more of that so that we can sell more. But maybe that was just a temporary blip, and then you order all that extra stuff, and it just sits there because you misread demand. You have to have plans to be a reseller. You decide, I'm going to list this many items this month. I'm going to source this many items this month. And I'm going to see how it goes over a period of 30, 60, 90 days, because it's going to take a while for that stuff to sell. I mean, we just did a show last week where we talked about some of the things we did on the day we listed 100 items. Some of them have still not sold. Should we have decided not to list 20 things that day because they wouldn't sell for a year? And by the way, which 20 would we have picked out of that 100? There would have been no way to know that. Like, it would have driven us crazy. Like, if you just said, hey, 20 of those items aren't going to sell in a year, you shouldn't list them. Great. Which 20? There was no way to know that. They were all just 100 regular jeans. So we would have been on a roller coaster of like, oh, I think it'll be this 20, but how would you know? So don't measure your results every day. Pick a periodic interval and do measure them on that interval.
I'll do the other don't. You could be the do's, I'll be the don'ts.
All right.
So don't compare your eBay results to other people's results. It's the comparison game. It gets us in trouble all the time. not, well, maybe not us anymore anyway. But it can get you in trouble because you're seeing that's, you know, so-and-so, there I go using that name again. It's going to pop up, I'm sure, but you know, so-and-so is doing it this, or they're selling this. And first of all, with used items, resold items, there's no way that your item is exactly identical to the other one, right? There's no way. And it's in large part why we don't, like in the beginning, we're a little looser about it now, but why we don't do a lot of, why we didn't do a lot of brand videos or haul videos, because, you know, we're in the Southeast and maybe we have available to us these types of shoes or this brand of jeans. And it might even be a brand.
This pricing. Yeah.
Or even, oh yeah, we have really good prices here too.
Sure.
So our model cannot possibly be cookie cutter fit into yours, right? In the Midwest, you know, maybe you don't have true fam jeans, and I just made that up, but whatever. So maybe you don't have this brand of jean, or maybe your jeans are selling for $10 a piece, even on a good day, you know, and that you just can't, that's comparing apples to oranges, right? So you can't possibly fit
but that. It's real because like we are in the south central part of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. If you look at a map, if we were over more towards the east, say near Fort Bragg, which is a huge military base, we would likely find a lot of uniforms, camouflage stuff, fatigues, and so on in their thrift stores. And we have in certain places where we've been closer. Remember in Columbia, we found some closer to Fort Jackson.
Yep.
So that would be a natural difference between us and a reseller in that part, just even in our own state in terms of what you could source. And there's money in both. So I think it's important to do compare yourself against your own results, because your own results represent over time your efforts, like your processes. You can compare yourself and what it's like, and it's not even just sales numbers, guys. Like, don't get so caught up in the sales number. Like, oh, I did 2,000 this month, but last month I did 2,100. What happened? Probably nothing happened. I mean, that's just natural variance. I mean, I always use this example because it's very easy for people to visualize. If I flip a coin 100 times, rarely will it come up 50 heads and 50 tails. Rarely will that be the result, even though that is the expectation. Sometimes it'll come up 55 heads. Sometimes it'll be 52. Sometimes it'll be 41. I mean, it will be all over the place. But over time, that number will approach 50-50. It's like with your sales. If you have this amount of items up and at this price point and so on, you have an expected result, but you're not going to get that expected result almost never. It's going to be within a range. So that's why you have to look at your own results over time to compare. And you can look at your processes. You can look at what you do, you know, to get those results, whatever they are. You just want to see improvement. You know, what's a lot of improvement for you? For some people, if they sell 5% more in a month, they're super happy. Other people want to list 25 more items. Some people want to spend 5 less hours on their eBay business in a given month. I don't know what it is for you, but that's how you figure out if you're successful or not.
So as usual, I'll throw a wrench into this because you were just talking about this and talking about this and talking about this. This might be a stretch, but don't focus on your results.
Right.
Don't focus only on your results.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's what we're talking about. You can't control completely your results. You can't. There's too many other variables you just don't have any control over. But what you can control is what you do want to do is focus on your processes. How quick and effective and efficient can you be with sourcing and photographing and listing and packing and shipping and storing and inventory and all those things that are part of an eBay business or anything you're doing. You want to focus on your knowledge. I mean, how many of us actively research on a regular basis, whatever that means to you, other niches to sell in, other approaches to take, other platforms to go on? That's important. Even if you go to like Etsy, let's say, and you say, all right, Prof, I spent an hour looking through Etsy, looking at what they sell, looking at their terms and rules, and I don't want to sell on it. Great. Mark it off your list. But now you know that was worth something to you. Like that's not going to be an avenue you're going to pursue right now. And you may come back to it someday. That's important, you know, improving your knowledge about a different brand or a niche or something like that. And that's important. And then growing other parts of your business is the other thing you want to do with that. Because there's eBay, but there's other things going on, right? Maybe you're selling on those other platforms, you're selling locally, you're invested in real estate, you own a business aside from all this that has nothing to do with reselling. And you can focus on growing that because that's important too. You know, whatever we want to grow, we have to give it fertilizer. We have to water it. We have to give it attention or it won't. And eventually it'll get stale and stagnant and die. So if you want to focus on other parts of your business too, that protects you in case eBay is not so great for you in a given day or week or month or year, or maybe ever again. Maybe you do all those other businesses and you decide, that's it. I'm done with eBay. It's not for me. That's okay as well, but you won't know that unless you do it.
So after you're not going to focus only on your results, and we kind of hinted at this next one, don't make eBay your entire whole life, people. Don't make it only all about eBay. And remember, when we first started this video, when we were talking about, you know, worry and what you worry about, the idea is to insert your worry thing here. So whether it's eBay or Amazon or merch or whatever, you can't make whatever that thing is all of the things. It can't be everything. And if you get anything from this, I think we talk about it until we're blue in the face, and it's come up in the chat several times. It's about putting all of your eggs in one basket. You just can't do it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this reminds me of that old Saturday Night Live skit.
Uh-oh. Are you going to act it out?
Well, maybe. Where William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk on the old Star Trek episode, there was a skit, and he was standing at a podium, and he was at a convention. He was talking to a bunch of Trekkies, fans of the show. And they were asking him all these crazy esoteric questions, you know, things like, in episode such and such, what was the combination of the safe that you guys opened? You know, and he's like, I have no idea. And like, how many horses do you have? And, oh, I have 12. And he says, was that count this one that was just born? He's like, I didn't even know that I have one that was just born. Like, they went on and on with all this crazy obsession over him and Star Trek. And eventually at the end of it, he says to him, hey, get a life. Because there's more to life than just Star Trek, which actually made a lot of Trekkies mad, that episode, believe it or not. And he caught a lot of flack for it for a while. But his point was well taken, that there's more to life than eBay. There's more to life than your business. And eBay is not going to fulfill you. And the emotional roller coaster we talked about you'll go on, if you do try to make it the only thing that fulfills you, will drive you nuts.
Well, and we talked today about how I have a project that I'm a little behind on because once again, life happens this week. And so where I should have finished this, so I took 1,500 pictures at a rugby tournament on Saturday, and I need to edit them down to about 350 to share them with our group. And we think that Ben got a concussion. And so we've kind of been wrapped up with that over the last couple of days. And it's kind of a big deal. And we don't have to talk about that now. But that spilled over to Sunday. I didn't get it done Sunday. And now it's consumed every free moment, because in my brain, I have to get it done. In my brain, that particular project is now overdue, but it's getting in the way of the things that probably, all right, I'll say it out loud, matter more during our work week. And when you made your suggestion about, because what happens is we focus sometimes on one thing, and we've talked about that in this chat, in this very platform here, where how you have to step away. Like, we get distracted by squirrels. Yes, we do. That's one thing. Sure. However, we also get so laser focused on doing a certain thing forever that it starts to affect our productivity, our ability to do well. So your suggestion to me was, and it was adorable, but maybe you should step away and do something different when you find yourself spending 10 hours on something. That's subtle. Yeah, like a kick in the teeth. No, but you are absolutely right. And my defense, as I always have one, was that I know that it's wrong, but I don't want to be right. No, but it's in my brain. I have all these little projects that aren't getting done, and I'd really like to get this one done because in my brain it's this big deal. It's not making me any money. It's not listing, and I only have a couple to go. So I will be work week productive in under an hour.
That's a great example.
Is it?
And
I was hoping it was.
This is amazing what we share on here that we sometimes don't share personally. I don't know what that says. You guys are like our psychologist couch.
You're our therapy couch. What did I just say that I haven't said to you directly?
Send us a bill. You can invoice us the checks in the mail. But I mean, Karen's point is well taken. You can obsess about things, and rarely does that mean that you're going to stay productive. Like you can obsess about, let me back away from this a little bit. You can still obsess about eBay, but if your obsession is just, let's say, list, you're never expanding your knowledge. You're never sourcing. You're never finding out if there's other platforms and things to do. So even if you're going to obsess about a broad subject, you need to diversify within the subject so that you're not going to, and you're going to burn yourself out, guys. I mean, nobody's a machine. They could just sit there forever and do the same thing over and over and be as productive as they were. You know, the first hour is usually going to be much more productive than hour number 9 or 10 or 12 or whatever you're doing in a given day. And it can become easy. It's easy to become obsessed about some of this stuff. I've found myself thinking about YouTube that way. And, I was playing around with a green screen yesterday. I'm going to,
oh, you guys just wait. You're going to see,
coming.
You're going to see Prof in such a different light. It's not even,
anyway.
Yeah.
But, and it's fun stuff too, but it's not your whole life. Business shouldn't be your whole life. eBay shouldn't be your whole life. You should absolutely find things outside of this and force yourself to go do those things. I mean, you're going to thank yourself for doing it. Like you have to take care of your mind, your body, your emotions. And eBay doesn't really take care of any of those things for you. Like that doesn't, it really doesn't push any of those buttons for me. I don't think it pushes those buttons for most people either. So you have to find some balance in there with those other things. And if sometimes that means turning eBay off, sometimes if that means you ship your items a day late, whatever, like, blasphemy, right, in the eBay community. But you've got to do things that will fulfill you and allow you to recharge and come back at something with a new, fresh perspective and ready to go. And a lot of times just sitting there and grinding away at something, you're not really getting to the heart of anything. You're just grinding away to bland rock, and there's nothing inside of it, just more rock. And it's always going to be that way. So you have to go out and, look for those diamonds and those rubies. Oh, I did like a stone reference there, a stone analogy. That was great. Well,
and didn't we talk earlier, like if you're worrying so much, like if there's nothing else, but you find yourself, all you can do is worry, wasn't my suggestion, like get a hobby or something?
Yeah.
Like wasn't one of the things we talked about? Because, a lot of this is working alone. A lot of resellers work by themselves, and they don't have a partner, or they don't have especially a familial support system.
Right.
So it is so easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day and in the worry of, is my business doing what I, hope and pray that all these blood, sweat, and tears is going to get me from it. So it's okay. We talk about balance, and somebody mentioned it in the chat as well, that part of that balance is you can't have everything over here on the business side. And I know that everybody thinks that, not everybody, but a lot of people think in coming into something like this that I just have to put it all into the business. Well, no, you don't. And I know that's hard for some people, especially younger folks maybe that are just getting started to hear. But if you do that, your results are not going to be, maybe with your business, they'll be good, but at what cost?
Right.
Like you've foregone your personal relationships. The dishes are growing God knows what in the sink, and there's all kind of creepy crawlies and smelly stuff coming out of the drain. Your laundry's not getting, like all of these things, it all has to happen in concert.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And it's so easy to lose sight of that, guys. And it's important that you bring yourself back to reality. eBay is not reality.
Hey, so Lauren, our wrench, thank you for coming in today, Lauren. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. And hopefully we will talk to you later this week. So thank you so much.
Yes, all of our American friends, we're getting ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. Does anybody else celebrate Thanksgiving? I don't think so. It's just America, right?
Isn't it kind of a thankful for the Americas? Like, isn't that the whole point of Thanksgiving?
The Americas? What are the Americas?
Like, you know, like America. Don't be a smarty pants.
This is what we do. The Americas.
It's what one of us does.
The North Americas and the South Americas.
So now would be a great time. If anybody has questions, just enter them in the chat. You know, put question mark, or put the word question in all caps. It's that free for all fun time.
Free for all fun. Yep, I like that.
And it's funny because somebody said earlier in the chat, it was funny. I've never been called a couch before. That made me laugh.
We called someone a couch?
Yeah, we did. We called the collective our therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. Well, you technically were part of a couch. Let's be clear.
You're all just one collective.
You were maybe like, couch. You know, a corner of a cushion. I don't even know. But
everybody comes together to make the couch.
Yes. But we're curious too, guys. And if you're watching this afterwards, you can answer this question too. You know, what really worries you about your eBay sales? Like, what is it specifically you worry about? And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I need to make more of them. They need to be higher and so on. But why? Like, why? What will be different if you don't? And what's going to be so different if you do? Because what I found is, and you and I were just talking about this the other day, that when I hit a benchmark, a milestone, it's great for about 30 seconds. And then I'm like, all right, time to set a new benchmark.
Well, and you're kind of hinting about what we're going to talk about on Friday too. But you're right. Like, okay, you set this goal. What happens when you get there? Are you done? Is that it? Is that, you know?
Yeah. And if you fall short, it's not the end of the world. Like if you set a goal to say, all right, I'm hoping I can hit $1,000 in sales this month on eBay, and you hit 900. I mean, are you going to just like beat yourself up for that? I don't really think that's going to be of any benefit. Or, oh, what am I doing so wrong? Or even if your sales were 500, you know, there's a reason for it. There's sometimes reasons that have nothing to do with you, often have nothing to do with you, and you don't have any control over that. And there's other things that you do have control to fix the next month to try to improve, and it may improve and it may not. You know, this goes back to that expectation argument I was talking about earlier. You put a number of listings out there, and for certain amount of money and selling price, and you're going to sell some, and some are not going to sell within a given time frame, and that's just the way it goes. And you can't get crazy about it.
That's another song. That's just the way it is. Some things, they never change. Sorry.
It is. You just went Bruce Hornsby there.
I did.
And what was his backup band?
And the Bruce Hornsby and the Range.
There you go. Very good. Awesome.
That never happens, by the way. I'm not the music or the movie quoter in this house. Nope.
That's true. I won't argue with that. So, you know, put down below, guys, what sort of things you're worrying about. I'm going to pin a question to this video after it posts as well, because I'm really curious, you know, what people really, really worry about with their sales, and kind of beyond even just the, oh, they're not high enough. Okay, well, you know, I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of times, a lot of us, we have an expectation about how something should go. And what I find so interesting is even when it goes like that, or exceeds that expectation, it still doesn't make us happy. I've noted that before with like certain sales goals and things like that. And I thought, well, if I hit this number, I'll be happy. And then I do. And it's like, that didn't really feel that great. Like I thought it would be better, you know. I don't know. It's kind of like going to a movie you really want to go see, and then it disappoints you. And you're upset about it. You know, like, wow, I just spent that money and that time and it did not deliver. And I think sometimes our goals are like that. So I think, you know, having better goals about improving things are better to focus on than a sales goal a lot of times.
I agree.
So, all right there, Trixie.
Is it that time?
It's that time.
Happy sales to you.
Guys, thanks for coming out today. Hope you enjoyed the show. For those of you in the U.S., we want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
That's coming up tomorrow.
We're going out for Chinese.
It's probably true. But we're glad you guys stopped by. Like we said, I hope that you have some awesome Thanksgiving food and fun tomorrow if you're watching this from the U.S. And even if you're not.
You show it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, sometimes it blocks things for weird reasons.
Yep.
But we will be back on Friday. We're planning on being here on Black Friday for a show. I don't know what we're going to talk about. She's got a subject she keeps talking about.
Well, we'll see what happens with that.
But thanks for stopping by, guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday.
This is Just Ask Kaaren
And Prof Sales.
saying
Good
sales to you.